The Tribal Health and Human Services Department of the Confederated Salish and Kootenai Tribes is proud to present Good Medicine, a program dedicated to the wellness of the Flathead Nation. The mission is summarized quite simply: a healthier people, a stronger nation. We will strive to make Good Medicine a reliable source of ideas and information about health issues so that everyone can make informed decisions about their own lifestyle and health care. You will meet health professionals, tribal government and spiritual leaders, and interesting people from the tribal community discussing important health issues that profoundly affect us all.
Hi, this is Good Medicine. I'm your host, Larry Pitts. Today we have two distinguished guests with us. We have Silas Perez and we have Trina Finley. They are both Child Protection Services workers. And before we get started, people, I would like to do a couple announcements. 2 weeks ago we talked about the bone marrow transplant draw that's going to be done at the Catholic Church in Polson on May 3rd, which is this Saturday. And the number, if you are interested in doing this, is 849-5403, and we highly encourage anybody who is of Indian descent to get hold of them. It is a free draw. Also, we'd like to talk about a little bit is the Montana Senior Olympics, which are coming to Missoula the 19th through 21st of June, 1979. If you'd like to have more information on this, please get hold of Lynn Hendrickson at Tribal Health and Human Services. Guys, we got the public service things done, so let's get to you. And you guys are both part of the CPCSs, and you guys were joking around earlier that you don't ever smile because you're supposed to be mean people. And let's start with Silas. Silas, what is Child Protection Services?
What Child Protection Services is, or actually what it is that Trina and I do, is we investigate referrals where the allegations have been made of child abuse or neglect.
Okay, and so it's a service that is put out for the child's protection. Does this always mean that there's a problem happening, or?
It doesn't always mean that there's a problem. We receive numerous referrals. In a year, I would say we receive about 400 referrals, and out of that number, we probably substantiate or unsubstantiate 85 to 90% of those type of referrals. So maybe 10 to 15% of those referrals are where problems actually exist. What happens is when we do an investigation and we determine that the referral needs to be substantiated, we have two options. One, we can make recommendations to the family to change their behavior to address the issues that we've identified, the child protection issues that we've identified. The other option is more of an extreme option, and that's where we go to court and we do an actual removal of the children because social services doesn't believe the children would be safe in the home.
How would someone how would they refer to your program? How does that happen, Silas?
Well, they can call us down in Mission, or if it's after hours or on the weekends, they get a hold of Tribal Law and Order, and Tribal Law and Order will contact an on-call social worker who will let them know that they need to contact this person. The after-hours social worker, though, is for emergency type referrals. If it's not an emergency thing, then that can usually wait till the next day or the following Monday.
What would you consider an emergency type of situation? I know that when a person's on call and they get called and it's not what falls within the category, sometimes it would pull them away from something that you would consider emergency. So
I guess what we would consider an emergency is a child who is in a situation where they're at risk at that point. And that's a determination that'll be made by the workers. So, for example, parents are, say the parents got the kids in the car and they get pulled over for DUI and they're arrested on the spot for DUI, one, they'll probably call social services to have us come place the child till we can find relatives who we can place the child with, but also then social services is interested in addressing the behavior, the DUI, because they put their child at risk. So for an example, something like that, or where a kid gets hauled off and gets smacked and someone sees the kid getting smacked and they have to get taken to the hospital or something like that. I guess those type of situations.
Physical abuse, basically.
Yeah, well, neglect too. There is neglect where a parent could leave a 5-year-old home alone. That's not very appropriate.
Right.
And we would respond to a call like that, a 5-year-old left home alone. So.
Okay. But you're not out there searching for, around corners and looking at people saying you're not doing the right thing, and it's things that are referred to you.
Yeah.
Trina, I'd like to direct the next question at you. And what kind of preparation does a person have to have if they are going to refer to you guys as a department in the social services?
When people call, we like them to be able to provide us the names of the parents or guardians that are involved, as well as the names of the children, their ages, and if they go to school, what schools they're in is very helpful. In addition, a lot of times people call and will give us really vague information that they believe a child's being abused or neglected. It's a feeling that they have, or something of that nature. And it's important that people be able to give us specifics of why they think that a child is being abused or neglected in their home. If they can cite specific times when that's happened, people that might have seen it happen, or also the residence of the parents is really helpful. A lot of times we get names and then no community or address, and even a town, but a physical address is really helpful to be able. It saves us a lot of time in trying to find out where those people live. If we can just
what you're looking for is some facts instead of hearsay, basically.
Exactly.
So you can substantiate the problem that might be there. A person who's being investigated, why would you investigate this person? I know it's because of the referral, but do you find stuff yourself, or is almost all your investigations done on a referral basis? Someone's referred it into you? Trina?
Usually what happens, if somebody makes a referral, that's the only time that we actually go out and do an investigation. We just don't investigate people because we have suspicion ourselves. If someone makes a referral, then we go out and investigate, and our jobs basically are to gather the information, the facts of that situation, and then make a judgment based on that. Sometimes we find that we're not able to substantiate the allegations, and other times we're able to gather a lot more information than we were originally given in their referral.
The person who made the referral, do you go back and tell them what's happened, or are they out of the circle then?
They're pretty much out of the circle. Because of confidentiality reasons, we can't go back and tell the person who made the referral what's going on. And a lot of times that upsets people because they want to know, they have a concern, and so they'd like to know if something's being done, and because of confidentiality we just can't do that.
Well, Silas, let me direct this at you then. I hear that there's a difference between the state and tribal child protection services, and I've heard people say, well, I don't want to go to the tribe because there's no confidentiality. What is the difference between the tribe and the state, and what is confidentiality within the tribal auspice?
Well, confidentiality with the tribe is once we receive a referral, one, the referent is confidential, so we will not tell who made the referral. It could cost us our jobs, and we're not very interested in losing our jobs. So we can't divulge that, who the referent is. Also, confidentiality-wise, if the family wants to know information, we can't really divulge information to the family. We need permission from that person. So as far as confidentiality goes, if they have no direct involvement with the case, we're going to be pretty hesitant to share any information with them.
Close
about
file
that.
to them, basically.
Right. And the thing is I know that kind of runs even within Tribal Health and Human Services, where we feel uncomfortable sharing information with other people who work in Tribal Health and Human Services because we're not really sure of their relationship, or we can't establish what their relationship to the case is. And this is pretty sensitive stuff, so we don't feel too comfortable doing that.
Right.
When I think about differences between the tribe and the state, the biggest thing that comes to mind is how the state has a TIA, a temporary investigative authority, and that gives them time to go into a case, and the way I understand it is that they could remove a child and do their investigation over this like 90-day period, whereas the tribe, we don't have that. And personally, I'm thankful for that, that we don't have that type of authority. I believe that that's been an abuse historically towards Indian people. The system that we have, that Trina and I work with, is when we conduct an investigation, if we determine that we need to do a removal, we can do what's called an emergency removal. At that point, we start on the clock. We have 72 hours in which to do an investigation. Now, the 72 hours is work days. So if removal happened on Saturday, our 72 hours don't start until Monday morning at 8. But that means by Wednesday, before the end of the day, Wednesday, we need to either return the child back to the parent, or we need to go to court and request emergency protective custody.
Okay.
And that's a difference from state to the tribe. And what my experience is that some agencies out there have a frustration because they're used to dealing with the state and the way the state will do things, and when they deal with the tribe, we deal with things differently, and it's a frustration for those professionals and working with us because they don't have an understanding of our system. Once we do the 72-hour hearing, we have 10 working days after that to do further investigation and submit another report to court. At the end of that 10th day, we have to file a petition. That petition's for youth in need of care. If we decide we need to have the kid a youth in need of care, 10 working days after that petition's filed is when we'll actually have a court date where we'll go in front of the judge again, and social services will present their case. Right. And it's up to the judge to decide whether or not social services has standing to have removed that child out. And I think that's one of the problems that we experience, is that social services gets blamed for a lot of things that happen, or a lot of things that don't happen. Okay. And we're held accountable when we go to court because it's the judge who ultimately decides
makes the decision.
What's going to happen here. So
you guys are what you're saying is basically that you're the caseworkers, that there's a schedule that you follow, a time schedule, and it all falls into place, and that that the system has created that, and you follow within that structure. And
if I could, I'd just like to go back to the referent information too, is that a lot of times people are hesitant to give their name when they make a referral because they're afraid that it's going to be told to the person being investigated. That never happens, like Silas said, because it's illegal for one. But sometimes people are able to put the information together and have a pretty good idea of who they believe made the referral. And sometimes people take that and think that we told that who made it, when in fact the person has a pretty good idea because of the information that we came in with already knowing. And I found in my cases that it helps to have that person's name and a phone number, so that, say for example, I can't find this person where they live, then I can call back the person that made the referral and say, when you made this referral, you didn't give us an address. Do you know where this person lives? So I find that it's really helpful to have the name and phone number of the referent. And calling in and making an anonymous referral doesn't make you any more your name any more confidential because it's confidential already.
Okay. When is the right time to make a referral, Trina?
I think in emergency situations, well, basically what happens a lot of times is people will call and say, 2 days ago, this family of children were left home alone and the parents were out partying all night and that kind of thing. Well, then when we go to the home to investigate, everything looks fine. So we like to see people call when the event is actually going on, rather than later when we can't actually substantiate any proof or find any evidence of that. Also, we might get a referral that says, well, the kid went to school 2 weeks ago with a bruise. Well, now the bruise is gone, and so we don't have any way of proving that the bruise ever existed.
Okay.
So right when that abuse or neglect is happening is the best time to call us.
All right.
Or Tribal Law and Order.
Okay. Well, guys, we're going to take a break right here for the Let's Ask Marjorie segment. So we're going to be back with you after that segment. So we'll be right back, people. Thank you. Hi, this is the Let's Ask Marjorie segment of our program. Actually, I decided to rename it. It's called the Let's Ask Marjorie Show.
Oh,
that way you become famous as I have become. Marjorie, the question we have today is, last week many tribal employees were required to attend a 2-day gathering of nations, otherwise known as GONA training. After that, the male employees were asked if they would like to be at the Men for Wellness Conference. Both were held at Kicking Horse. A number of people have been asking me what was the purpose of these conferences. Was there any good brought forth from it? So,
That's really a good question, Larry.
thank you. We can thank JP for that one.
Yeah, well, I'd like to thank Kicking Horse for hosting the conferences out there and for having their students and staff participate. And I'd like to thank the people from Tribal Health and Human Services who participated and the community people. And each conference had over 100 people there, and I thought it was quite successful, and it's really just a start. It's actually called Gathering of Native Americans, and the purpose is for community healing. And my purpose, of course, is to get the staff trained so that we see wellness from a different perspective, and that in turn will lower healthcare costs, because I believe that healthcare costs will only be lowered when we start treating each other better, such as like we're family members or tribal members, or that we all have a connection somehow. So I was really happy with it, and one of the things that I discussed when I interviewed for the job was the training that I would like to have the staff participate in, and this was one of them. And so it's really only a start. We're planning additional facilitation training for GONA at the end of June, and then we're planning on having a 4-day Gathering of Native Americans community healing conference in the fall, sometime August, September, sometime in there. And the conference on men, I thought was very interesting. We brought in for both days David Carello and Dr. Clayton Small. And I've known both of them for quite some time. And Dr. Clayton Small has done his doctorate on Indian men's issues. And so I was hoping that we would deal with some contemporary problems, and that I think we all need to look at where we are and where we've been and how we can move ahead. And, there was a very famous Indian philosopher by the name of Plato in the 2nd century who said that in order to heal the body, you must first heal the mind. Mm-hmm. And so as long as we're being unkind to each other, as long as we're prejudiced towards each other, as long as we don't treat each other as if we care about each other, our health care problems are going to be major. And so you have to look at the holistic view of healing, which is body, mind, spirit, and I'd like to see us head in that direction. So
we're heading in that direction.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you, Marjorie. And for those out there, that's this segment today, so we'll see you next week. Thank you. Hi, we're back with Trina Fine and Silas Perez. And Silas, while we had our break talking with Marjorie, you brought out that you wanted to address something that you felt that you sort of said wrong. So go ahead, I'll give you the...
Yeah, in one of your earlier questions when we were talking about confidentiality, a statement in there I said I didn't finish it completely, and that was talking about referents. When referents call in, how we don't divulge who the referent is. And I said the reason why is because we don't want to lose our jobs. We need our jobs, and it's not that the reason why we do these jobs is because we need the jobs, but it's because we believe in what it is we're doing and trying to go out there and address the behavior and trying to work with our families so that we don't have the problems that we have, and we do our jobs because we believe in what we do and the reason why we do it. It's not, I need this job. I mean, we don't need child abuse and neglect.
That's right. That's exactly right.
I don't need this job that bad.
You would like to, both of you, I'm sure, would love to see yourselves working yourselves out of a job.
Yeah.
And going to prevention. Trina, does your social service job with child protection, do you guys do any prevention work?
I think so, in the sense that if we go out on a case and we think that the family is at risk for problems happening in the future, then a lot of times we make referrals out to other programs that we have an intervention unit that we try to get the family involved with. Sometimes we make referrals to mental health, to the addiction treatment program. A lot of our job, I think, is making those referrals and helping the family get hooked up in those programs so that we don't have to see them later in our program, or they don't have to come to a place where the children are being removed. So I think in that sense we do a lot of
Well,
prevention.
and I think that's part of, the tribal health theme that we're trying to go after is prevention, I mean, I would love to see you guys make referrals into the fitness centers. I know you both use them and, and have become very involved in working out yourselves, and, it's something that we can always look at in the future is putting it all around positive behaviors, and I know that's, that's a real positive. Silas, sometimes when people make referrals, they become upset when they don't see something really happening. They think, well, I made this referral, why aren't you doing this? Well, how do you address that?
Well, one, when we address it with the people, is that we encourage people to continue to call in and make referrals to us, even if they don't believe something is happening. The problem I guess it's not really a problem, but as part of our job, we have to work within legal definitions on what we legally can and can't do. And when a person makes a referral, we look at the referral, and some referrals that we receive, there's nothing in there. There's not a child protection issue that we can actively go out and do an investigation. And those referrals are made information only. So we need to work within, I guess, the boundaries or the parameters of the law that we have. And so some of the stuff that we receive at social services, it's not really a child protection issue that we can investigate. Some referrals are low risk type referrals where we go out and, like Trina said, we've identified a behavior and we make referrals to other programs, and that's what happens. When we do that, when we're not formally involved with the family, it's that family's option to pursue those services. We don't make them do the services. The only time where we can actually make a family do services is when we have formal court involvement where the court has made them a youth in need of care. Right. So we encourage them, though, even if you believe that nothing's happened, still make the referral. If something else happens, make the referral. And it's okay to be frustrated with the system, but understand that we also have to meet legal standards to do anything, to become actively involved in people's lives.
Well, as I see it, watching the two of you, listening to you, I've learned a lot, is the fact that you guys are doing the groundwork. You're finding out what's going on, you're putting it together as a case, but you don't make the final decision. As you said, the court does that. And you were going to say something, Trina.
I was just going to add to what Silas was saying about that it's in the family's best interest to follow through with referrals when we do make them, just because it's our way of giving them a chance to do a better job at whatever it was that they weren't, whatever parenting skill that they weren't developing appropriately or adequately, then that's their chance to better themselves and to better the lives of their children. So it's in their best interest to follow through with those referrals. But on the same hand, if people don't continue to call and make referrals, then we have no way of knowing whether or not the family's doing better or not.
Well, I know in my life, I wasn't really sure what social services, child protection was all about. You aren't the bad people. So Silas, with that, would you like to, do a little PR for child protection services for that you aren't the bad guys?
Yeah, I guess I would. It's when we talk about the prevention part, that's what I'd like to see child protection services, Trina and I, be when we come out and speak to people about referrals, to think about it. If they do have that behavior that we're talking to them about, if they have it, take the recommendations. Take the recommendations that we think they need to address that behavior. That's why we say it. We're out there because we want to change the behavior. We don't want to come out and take the kids. That is the last thing that Trina and I want to do is to have to do a CPS removal. We would rather see the parents take the opportunity to do what they need to do. And I don't think we're bad guys. I think that we're good guys because we want to see a positive change for our people. That's what we want to see. So we're not bad people, and we just want to work with parents. But because we're not actually in prevention, we're kind of after the fact. But this is the way that we can try and do prevention. I know that Trina and I can shape CPS to do the things that we want to do to try and help people with their behaviors.
So what you're trying to do is you're trying to give people an opportunity when you are made aware of a problem, to point the problem out and say, hey, we're here to help you find a way to work with this. We want to make the family a better unit, which if the family is a better unit, the village becomes better, we grow as people. And, guys, I want to thank you. You've been great guests. You've put some light on what you do for work, and you brought a lot of attention to how I feel about you, and I want to thank you for that. Trina, I notice you have a lot of rings on your fingers. I hope that doesn't mean you've been married that many times. But other than that, guys, I want to thank you. And
can I say hi to my kids?
Yeah, say hello to your kids.
Hi, Amanda, Susan, Nissa, Alicia, Leela, Lane, and Little Sai.
Trina, anybody?
Hi, Auntie, Grandpa Clarence, and Sam.
All right, guys, thank you for being on, and people will be back next week, and so see you then. Thank you much. Bye-bye.
Good Medicine is your program. We hope you watch this and subsequent programs to stay informed about your health care, and we'd like to hear from you about how we're doing. Please direct any comments or suggestions you have to us. You can reach us at